Hey guys, want to know why dentistry is so expensive? Stick around, we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to another episode of Smile Doc's Philosophy. Glad to be able to provide some insight for you from a dentist perspective. And today we're going to be talking about why dentistry is so expensive. So we talk about this concept all the time. Patients always want to know. I'm on social media a lot. You guys probably know, have seen me in Smile Doc on TikTok and on Instagram. But everyone's, why it's so expensive? Why is it so expensive? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Why is dentistry so expensive? Today, I'm going to say some things that you may not like to hear, but they're true. And so let's get right into it. Okay, the first thing that I want to cover is need versus want. Okay, we are in a first world country, and in most cases, dentistry feels like it should be a need. And believe me, I want it to be a need. The fact is, my father-in-law's lived with dentures for 50 years. I get hung up a little bit when people say you need teeth. I just get hung up a little bit. Need, like you need your heart. You need a lung. Do you need teeth? Same thing with braces. Like braces, why is braces so expensive? Well, there are very few cases that have come through my office where someone needs braces. And moms are always like, do you think my child needs braces? And I'm like, need? Braces are great. Yes, they can help with preventing periodontal disease. They can help with keeping things clean, maybe being cavity free. They definitely help with self-esteem and getting jobs and all that stuff. It is definitely awesome to have nice, healthy teeth. Believe me, my life is built around smiles. I understand the importance of smiles. I just get a little hung up on the word need. That's all. Okay, let's go on and talk about one more concept that you won't want to hear, okay, and that is how expensive dentistry is. From a consumer's perspective, I completely understand. There isn't anything I'm going to be able to tell you that's going to make you feel better about paying $1,500 for a crown. There isn't anything. I understand that. Just trying to provide a little insight and a little perspective on why dentistry is so expensive. The other thing that's kind of interesting, when you compare dentistry and medicine is expensive. The difference is there's this inverse relationship between insurance companies and dental offices and insurance companies and medical offices. So if you go to your medical office, you likely, for a routine checkup, you're not going to pay very much out of pocket, right? The insurance is going to cover most of it. In dentistry, it is flipped. The dental insurance does not cover the most of stuff. It just doesn't. It's flipped over. But at the same time, like my premiums for my family right now are like $2,500 a month, and we're healthy. Like I spend a ton of money on my insurance money for medicine, and I spend nothing on dental insurance. And if you looked at how much you're spending on dental insurance compared to medical insurance, unless you're working for a great corporation that just pays for everything, but even their cost for dental insurance, very low. Their cost for medical insurance, very high. So it's just an inverse flip a little bit, is you pay out of pocket at the dentist office for a lot of stuff, but you pay out of pocket to the insurance company for medical stuff. Okay? Now, let's talk about the cost of dentistry, and let's start with school, okay? You're not going to get out of dental school these days unless you go through the military or you're on some grant from the government to work in a rural area for a certain number of years. You're just not going to get out of dental school without a minimum of $300,000 worth of debt, a minimum. Those dentists come out of school with somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 worth of personal debt that they incur. It's interesting, however, that generally speaking, the prices are the same in any given city, around the same. You're going to be in the zone. So you might be $300 to $500 off, up or down on a crown, something like that in a city. But generally speaking, dentistry costs the same in a city. About the same. You can price shop in a city and you'll find variables, but you won't find a variable like from Tennessee to LA. New York City is going to be just generally the cheapest crown in New York City is probably going to be higher than one of the more expensive crowns in another state. Okay. Which is also a frustrating thing for me because it's not a commodity. If I want to buy a Tesla or an iPhone, it costs the same, which basically means if your salaries are the same are relatively higher in these higher cost of living cities, the sacrifice is going to be about the same on these things. But a Tesla is the same price. And an iPhone is the same price no matter where you buy it. And it's just not that way with teeth. Okay, it's just not that way with teeth because it not only is there a product involved, there's also a service involved. And that's the one thing you want to be looking at when you're buying anything that's expensive is making sure Number one, you're getting value for that money. Number two, that there's some sort of warranty type, maybe customer service care and follow up to the stuff that you're paying for. Okay. Another thing that's important to note, since we're talking about debt for dentists, is if I know that inflation is involved and post-COVID things are really high, but generally speaking across time, if the cost is the same and the debt is really high, over time, the debt's going to go down and the cost is going to stay the same. And so over the years, like the decades of practicing dentistry, the dentist is going to just make more money because their debt service is going to be paid down. Does that make sense? Beyond the cost of schooling, which 4 years and then all the debt, you also have the cost of business. Okay, just the cost of business. A building or a rent payment is going to be between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. Not to mention property taxes. I live in a relatively affordable city, and property taxes on this building are like $22,000 a year just to check. You have to write. It is not cheap. It's very, very expensive. Just for the place of business, it's very expensive. Okay, so you have to rent that. Then you got to put everything in here, including a team, which is the most expensive of all of the categories. You got to buy equipment. There's single-handed pieces of equipment that cost $100,000. X-ray heads that you buy that are $100,000. And you have multiple ones of those things inside of a dental office. Chairs, to equip an operatory, that fancy chair you sit in that's kind of comfortable, that goes back automatically, the drills, everything else, just to fit and upfit a working dental operatory can cost $20,000 to $40,000 easy. So you've got lots and lots of expenses, even lab bills, the cost of a crown, just to make a crown. Some of them are well over $500 a piece just to make it. Okay, and so there's a lot of expenses. It's super expensive. The overhead is expensive. You've got insurance, liability insurance, malpractice insurance. I just can't go on enough about the cost. I know you're bored already. All of these things play a factor into the cost of dentistry. That's my point. Another thing that I want to mention with regards to out-of-pocket expenses in dentistry, like when I go to the eye doctor, I grew up my whole life with perfect vision. And it wasn't until I was around 40 that I started noticing that my eyesight was going, like the reading part. And then over 5 or 6 years later, my distance started going. And so I was just losing my vision. And had to go to the optometrist. I get fitted for contacts, which are great. I use them right now, but they cost me around $600 a year. And there may be cheaper ones that I can buy, but I've tried a couple of different ones. These work, so we're sticking with them. That's the cost, $600 a year. So when people come into a dental office and they're like, wow, how much are your night guards? And I'm like, well, the cheaper ones are like $300. And they're like, man, $300 for a night guard. Or they'll come back 2 years later and say, this thing didn't last me very long. I just have to tell them, look, everyone's got a thing. Some people don't have to spend any money on their eyes. And then other people, it's really important that you have a night guard. And so that's one of your things. Like you're just going to have to spend $300 a year on a night guard. Okay. So different bodies require different things for maintenance. And that's just something to consider. Dentists have continuing education requirements that they have to take. Those aren't free. You have to pay for them. And if you want to be great at something, you're going to be taking a lot of them. Very expensive. Just another, one of the first cosmetic courses that I took cost $10,000. That was 20 years ago. It's even more today. Okay. They're very expensive. Also, a very interesting point to make is there aren't very many dentists around. Any given city may be inundated with dentists, but generally speaking, it's kind of a specialized type of career. And because of that, the demand goes up and the costs are kind of high. I can tell you that every year, most dentists do not raise their fees every year, and every year lab bills go up. Every year, staffing goes up. Every year, most people that rent are on a graduated scale that's going to go up every year. The cost just goes up. So guys, you put all these things together and you can start to see from a consumer's perspective, I'm not disputing that it's expensive. But when you can, zoom out just a little and see that dentistry costs a lot of money, there's something to be said about a man or a woman who sacrifices 4 years, goes into debt, taking all that risk, hoping they don't get injured in the payback time, and then grind it out for the first 5 or 10 years not making very much money, and then suddenly they've paid off that debt and they start to make a little more money, okay? It's that way in any business, okay? I've got a friend that owns McDonald's, and same thing. You start out, you're working really hard, all the hours, you go into debt for these McDonald's, but over time, the debt goes down, the profits go up, and that's when you start to make the money, okay? I would not be honest if I didn't address insurance, okay? Because dental insurance, in my opinion, has disappointed all of us, all right? When you get mad at the cost of dentistry, in my mind, I would be mad at the insurance company. We'll take a ton of examples. Take my little building, not very big, and take the Blue Cross Blue Shield building down the road. It's huge. They are a multi-million, hundreds of $1 million a year business, okay? Dentists aren't. Insurance is making money hand over fist while they pay out very little for their subscribers. I can tell you this too. You go back in time into the 70s when dental insurance first started, insurance paid out a maximum annual payout of $1,000 at the time. We're now 50 years down the road, and the maximum annual payout today for some insurance companies right now, $1,000. Haven't gone up at all. But the premiums, boop, 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 boop. Of course. We get some insurance companies that have gone up. The most I've seen is $2,000 a year. Okay. On average, maybe $1,500. Although the prices of the premiums have more than doubled, the payouts have doubled only in a small sample of cases. All right. Insurance is an issue. And if you want the insurance company to start paying more, believe me, they're just going to raise your premiums. And so to me, insurance is sort of like a coupon. It's this little boost to help you get the dental work that you need done. And I'll say this last thing that is very, very important. People that come in that have a lot of dental work, they have a lot of decay, and they have really going to have to make an investment to restore their smile and their mouth. This is also going to hurt a little bit, but an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And what can I say? Learn how to brush really, really well. Learn how to have a good relationship with sugar. Learn how to floss really, really well. Make the small incremental investments in your dental hygienist to make sure they're cleaning everywhere and you're getting early checkups, because the price of a filling, super cheap. Price of a root canal and a crown, super expensive. Okay. I know that this is going to come off as good and bad. And so give me some comments below. Let me know exactly how you feel about it. You can hit me up on Instagram at Real Smile Doc or on TikTok as Smile Doc. And happy to be able to field some questions for you about this subject. Okay. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Share it with others and subscribe. Please subscribe. It really helps me keeps me motivated to make more videos for you guys. All right. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, Smile Doc out.